only recourse, so you have to give us protection. Eventually, Lord Ramachandra encounters Viradha, who actually takes away Sita, and later his hands are chopped off and he's buried. And while dying, he remembers his curse. He was actually an associate of Kuvera and a great devotee of Lakshmi indeed. And because he was cursed by Kuvera, he ended up being a Rakshasa, and it was predicted that he would be liberated by Lord Ramachandra. And at that time, before he died, he did Vak Seva. That is, he told Lord Ramachandra, he did some service basically. So he told Lord Ramachandra that he should move on to Sutikshna Ashram, and that would be a great place to stay. So Lord Ramachandra, he moves on to Sutikshna Ashram. There at the entrance, he sees the great Indradeva with his horses stationed there on his chariot. And he was coming to Sutikshna Ashram just to ask Sutikshna if he was ready to move on to Satyaloka owing to the austerities that he had performed. But Sutikshna was very intelligent, both Sharabhanga and Sutikshna, sorry. First he meets Sharabhanga, then he meets Sutikshna. But both Sharabhanga and Sutikshna, both of them were very, very intelligent. And they said, no, thank you. And they said that we are just here to serve Lord Ramachandra. And they surrendered all the fruits of their activities to Lord Ramachandra. So both Sharabhanga and Sutikshna episodes we saw. And when they proceeded, this was a point when Sita Devi, she gives some advice to Ramachandra. She tells Ramachandra, why don't you give up your bow and arrow? And then Lord Ramachandra, he says, there is no way I will do that. I will never forget the promise that I have given to a devotee. I can even give up my life. I will forego Lakshman. I'll even give up you. But I will not give up the promise, especially that is made to Brahmanas. And because I promise that I will protect these sages, I will definitely protect them. Then they move on to the forest, inside the forest, and they move on like a Om. And this time, initially when they came to the forest, it was Lakshman who walked in the front. But now that Ram was on a mission and he was there to protect the sages, he moved in the front, followed by Sita, followed by Lakshman. Then we saw the quick episode of sage Mandakarni, who was performing austerities, but unfortunately it was all karma kanda, and he ended up with a lot of enjoyment. In contrast to the sages like Sutikshna and Sharabhanga. Then we moved on with Lord Ramachandra into the forest, and Ramachandra had a desire to see Agastya. He expressed his desire to Sutikshna, and Sutikshna told him that you move southward, and there you will first find the ashram of Sudarshana, who's a great sage, who's the brother of Agastya. And then if you move further southward, you will find the ashram of Agastya. We also saw the quick stories of Agastya, the story of Svatapi and Ilvala, also the story of how Agastya stopped the Vindhya mountain. Then sage Agastya, at this point, he gives him the Vishnu Dhanush. Now, we also saw how Vishnu Dhanush was originally presented by Parashuram in Balakanda. And Parashuram asked Ramachandra, can you take a aim with this bow? You seem to have broken the Shiva Dhanush, but the Vishnu Dhanush is far superior. So why don't you try taking an aim at it? And after Lord Ramachandra broke the pride of Parashuram, Vishnu Dhanush vanished into the sky and it went into the custody of Varunadev. And from there it comes back to Agastya because it was time for Lord Ramachandra to use it. And whom did Lord Ramachandra eventually use it on? He used it on Khara, one of the demons. So after bidding farewell to Agastya, he goes to Panchavati. He asks Lakshman to build a beautiful hut. Lakshman builds a beautiful hut reflecting his qualities of servitude. And then they meet Jatayu for the first time. At that time, Jatayu tells his history and he tells his entire family story, how all the species were created owing to Daksha's daughters. And then he also tells about the story of Jatayu and Sampati, that both of them are the sons of Aruna, who is none other than the charioteer of the sun god and the brother of Garuda. Then afterwards, a beautiful cottage is built and they continue to live there. And it's been many years now, they're continuing to live there. And there's Hemanta, actually, this is, I think, the Hemanta Ritu comes by. And at that time, they glorify this beautiful season and they're reminded of Bharata. because they're thinking, how will Bharata be taking bath in the Sarayu River that will be so cold? Like that, they were thinking about the greatness and the great qualities of Bharata. Then, during the last year of their exile, comes the turning point where our favorite heroine enters, and Shurpanaka is her name. And there is a startling comparison between Shurpanaka and Lord Ramachandra. And Lord Ram and Lakshman, they were playfully talking to Shurpanaka. There's a lot of hasya rasa in this section. But then Shurpanaka, she tries to devour Sita. She says, if the Sita is the problem, then I'm going to eat her up. And she tries to pounce on Sita. And that is when Ram indicates to Lakshman that he should take action. And Lakshman chops off the ears and nose of Shurpanaka. So Shurpanaka, she goes crying and she reports this to Khara, who is stationed there with his 14,000 soldiers in Dandakaranya. She gives a big report and she also talks about Sita, and she tells that they both are very valorous. So you should go and you should defeat Lord Ramachandra and bring their blood. I want to drink their blood. So initially 14 soldiers are sent. Ramachandra very effortlessly, he actually kills all the 14 soldiers, and then 14,000 demons go. And there was one Rama, but it appeared like there were 14,000 Ramas because he fought so dexterously and he killed all of them. He asked Lakshmana and Sita to stay in the cave and not participate this time. And that he had a reason why he didn't want them to participate, because he wanted to prove his valor in front of Sita. And then finally, Sita comes out from the cave after the war is over, after killing Kara, Dhushan, and Trishiras, and Sita embraces Ramachandra. Tam drishtva shatruhantaram maharshrinam sukahvayam babuva hrishta vaidehi bhartaram parishasvaje. Very, very famous verse of the Valmiki Ramayana. And owing to the embrace of Sita, all the wounds of Lord Ramachandra was immediately cured. And we saw a lot of commentaries on this one verse. And then after this, 14,000 soldiers were killed. Actually, it was not 14,000, it was 14,000 minus one, because there was one particular character by the name Akampana. Kampana means to tremble. Akampana means one who doesn't tremble. But in contrast to his name, he was trembling, and he goes to Ravana and he tells to Ravana, he reports to Ravana about what had happened. He tells him about Rama, he tells about Sita, and he says, Sita is such a beautiful lady, you should actually go and get Sita. And he says, if you somehow abduct Sita, Lord Ramachandra will be plunged into grief. He will give up food and drink, and he will die automatically. So this is the idea that Akampana gave Ravana. So Ravana thought that was an excellent idea. So he goes in search of Maricha, and Maricha tells him, who is this fool who gave you such a terrible idea? Is he your well-wisher, or is he trying to destroy you? So you please go back home. And Ravana listens to Maricha. He says, okay, whatever. Maricha says, you be happy with your wife. Let Rama be happy with his wife. Now, why are you unnecessarily going on a task of self-ruination? And Ravana says, okay, and he goes back. But then after some time, Shurpanakha comes running, and she gives a big report. She gives a big report and she cries and she wails. Initially, she, in fact, blasphemes Ravana, saying that you're a useless king. And then later, when Ravana heard all these complaints of Shurpanakha, he asks her, Array, what happened? Tell me, why are you speaking such terrible words? And that is when Shurpanakha begins to speak. She says that there are two men who have entered Dandakaranya forest along with their wife. One of them is Rama and the other is Lakshmana. So at that time, we stopped. Okay, so now we are going to continue from there. Shurpanakha was blaspheming Ravan in various ways, saying that you just know to brag about yourself, and you don't even know what is happening in your kingdom, and you will soon be destroyed if you're so lazy and if you don't understand what the spies are doing and so on. And when she reveals the fact that Rama and Lakshman have entered the Dandakaranya forest, Ravana is reminded already this report had come to him through Akampana. But he was wondering that initially he thought this is not a big deal. This matter is not very serious. But now, when he saw Shurpanaka speaking like this, he could understand that there is something more to this. I should really understand who this Ram and Lakshman is. He was initially thinking they're just ordinary human beings. What can they do to me? That's how he was thinking. And in fact, when Akampana gave the idea, go and kidnap her, he thought, okay, anyway, just leave it. She's just an ordinary human woman, and he's a human man. So what's going to happen? So he even gave up that idea. He was thinking, yeah, I have enough wives. I don't need her. That is the initial impression he had. But then now, after Shurpanaka started speaking, Shurpanaka, when she was crying like this, Ravana, he asks Shurpanaka, who is this Rama that you're talking about? What is this? Suddenly, so many people are coming and giving me a report about this Rama. Who is this Ram? How brave is he? What is his caliber? How did he even enter this Dandakaranya forest? What is the weapon that he is using? And you're telling that all our 14,000 soldiers, Karadushanadi soldiers, all of them are killed. So Trishira, Skara, Dhushana, they are all so strong. So tell me, who are these two people? How did they use their weapons? How did they kill so many people? And first of all, how did they disfigure you so terribly? You're bleeding. Your nose and ears are bleeding. So tell me exactly what happened. At that time, she said, राक्षसां भीम वीर्याणं सहस्राणि चतुर्दश निहतानि शरैः तीक्ष्णै तेनैकेन पदातिना अर्धाधिकमुहूर्तेन करच सह दूषणा. So she tells, she was one lone foot soldier, okay? Just on, he didn't have a chariot, he didn't have anything, and he was a single man. And he shot excruciating arrows at 14,000 demons who are Bhima Karmana, meaning they are so powerful. Rakshasanam Bhima Viryanam Sahasrani Chaturdasha. 14,000 very, very strong soldiers. And they had so many weapons and they were on chariots. And within 1.5 muhurtas, this Ramachandra, within 72 minutes, he was able to kill all of them, continuously shooting arrows, being a lone foot soldier. And she said, he gave assurance to the sages that he will give protection to the sages, and that is why he entered the Dandakaranya forest. And he and his brother, they cut off my nose and ears, humiliating me. And just because I'm a woman, they let me alive and they drove me out. The person who actually did this, who cut off my nose and ears, is his brother, Lakshmana. Lakshmana is no less. He's easily irritable. He's very valorous and he will never give up a fight. Such a kind of person is his brother. As much as Lord Ramachandra is very, very powerful, so is his brother Lakshmana. And this Rama, he's got a face like full moon, but however, he has his dear wedded wife with him. And he always takes delight in being with his wedded wife. And that lady who is with them, she has beautiful long hair. Her nose and thighs are so finely built. She looks very, very beautiful. And she, in fact, looks like a deity of the forest deity. And what to talk about looking like a forest deity? Actually, her beauty isn't equal with goddess Lakshmi. She's like Shri personified right here. And so she says, actually, I've seen so many women. I've seen so many women of so many races. I've seen Kinnara ladies. I've seen Yaksha women. I've seen Gandharva women. I've seen so many kinds of women. I've even seen Devatas, like goddesses, demigoddesses. But I have not seen any woman like her. Her beauty is unparalleled. And the most important was she said that really changed Ravana's mind, according to the Acharyas, is this. She said, Asya Sita Bhavet Bharya Yamcha Hrishta Parishasvaje Ati Jivet Sarveshu Lokeshu Api Purandatat. So she said, if at all somebody marries this woman, if Sita becomes the wife of some person and lovingly she puts her embrace around that man, that man will live a very, very long life, and he will live more grandly than Indra, than Purandara Tapi, even grander than Purandana, and he'll become the lord of all the three worlds. Power is very, very intoxicating. Ravana, he performed many austerities so that he could become the lord of the three worlds. And here comes the statement by Shurpanaka. Shurpanaka says, Ati jivetsa sarveshu lokeshu api purandarat. You will get the three words. The lady, if the person who marries this lady, he is considered the most fortunate. You can imagine, she's of course goddess of fortune, right? So she's goddess of fortune is obviously she's going to disturb fortune. So that is what Shurpanaka is hinting here. Now, if you become her husband, then not only will you be immortal, you'll have a very long life, but you will also enjoy all the opulences, and all the three worlds will come under your control. Okay. Of course, the beauty of Sita was already explained by Akampana earlier. And even Shurpanaka also spoke about the beauty. But Shurpanaka said something more that really interested him. And then Shurpanaka said, you are alone fit to be her husband. And you are my brother, you are very, very valorous, you are mighty shouldered. And I feel that she is the woman who should actually live with you. And this Rama and Lakshman, both of them should be killed because they unnecessarily disfigured your sister. And she assures him, actually, the minute you see that Sita, you'll be attacked by Kamadev. You'll be attacked by Cupid's arrows. And her face is so beautiful. It is irresistible. All that you have to do is just go and see her once. Put your right foot forward and move ahead and bring her and make her your. So Shurpanaka said these words, and Ravan, this time, he was listening very, very intently, and he decided that he's not going to take a step back. He's really going to move forward, like she said. Because earlier he took a few steps and he came back. But now Shurpanaka is telling, don't look back. Please go for it. Just go see her once, and you will never want to leave her. And once you have her with you, there is no doubt that you are going to be the Lord of all lords. So having said that, Ravana, he goes secretly to his chamber where the chariots are stationed. And because the news spreads very fast, right? So Shurpanaka has come in front of everyone and she's spoken all this in the front of the entire assembly. So Ravana knew that the news will spread really fast. So very quickly, secretly, he goes to the stables, and there he finds his chariot that is decorated with different kinds of golden ornaments. And what kind of chariot was it? It was not the Pushpaka Viman. Rather, it was a chariot yoked with mules, asses, donkeys, actually. It was yoked with donkeys that have ferocious faces like ghosts. That kind of donkeys. And the chariot itself was made of gold, and it sounded like thunder, and it had gems studded everywhere, and it would move according to the wish of the rider. So it can fly, it can go on earthly level, it can fly, it can do anything that the rider decides. So that kind of chariot he had. So he had many chariots besides the Pushpaka Viman, and this was one of the most ferocious chariots that he had. So like this, he started moving in his chariot secretly, and quickly, very quickly, he went and said, he told, look, I need this chariot. He got onto the chariot and he started moving towards the ocean. Lanka is an island, so he decided to move towards the ocean. And from the ocean, he was to cross over all the way to the Indian subcontinent. Okay, so like this, as he was moving through the ocean, he passed through many different kinds of trees, woodlands, forests, cities, lakes, pastoral grounds, and so on. So Lanka was very, very beautified, and he was moving through all these different places. And finally, he came to the tip of the island where he came across this huge banyan tree. This huge banyan tree is actually highly celebrated, and the name of this banyan tree is Subhadra. The name of the banyan tree is Subhadra. Why is this banyan tree important? Because this banyan tree made a mark in history. Once Garuda, there's the story in Mahabharata, in Adi Parva in Mahabharata, that once Garuda was very hungry after he was born. He went and asked his father Kashyapa, give me food. Give me food that will satisfy my appetite. Now, Garuda's appetite is really big. It is very difficult to satisfy his appetite. So, Kashyapa thought there is a tortoise and an elephant of humongous size. And these two animals have been fighting for a very long time. And this is going on for tens and thousands of years. And Kashyapa wanted to put an end to this because it was unnecessary destruction. Both they were just creating unnecessary disturbance, the elephant and the tortoise. So he told Garuda, that is your food. Go and capture them and eat them as your food, and your appetite will be satisfied. And where were these? This tortoise and this elephant was near this banyan tree. Okay. So Garuda, he flew with full force and he came and he rested on the branch of that huge banyan tree. It was a very ancient banyan tree. So he went and he rested on it. And because of the weight of Garuda, Garuda means one who can actually carry heavy objects. Okay. Guru. Guruda becomes Garuda. Okay, so Guru means heavy. So he can carry heavy objects and he's also heavy. Okay, Garuda is also heavy. So he came and he sat on the branch, and the branch almost got cut off and it was about to fall down. But then there was a problem. If this branch falls down, there is a great calamity simply because hanging on these branches were little sages called as Valakilyas and Vaikhanasas. They are very tiny, size of a thumb. So these sages were performing austerities hanging on to these branches. So if all the sages die and collapse, it would be a problem. So Garuda very immediately with his one claw, it is mentioned that he held on to the elephant and the tortoise. That means imagine the size of Garuda. And with the other claw, he held on to the branch that was about to fall. And then he started flying up. And then with that claw where he had held the tortoise and the elephant, he feasted on the tortoise and the elephant, and very carefully he ensured that the sages were led down at safety, and the sages blessed him. They blessed him that whatever endeavor you take, you will be successful, and we call you Garuda, the performer of great heavy tasks. And Garuda was taking blessings from them, and he left them in safety. And then that branch he was still holding, though the sages got off the branches. The sages gave him an idea: go and drop this branch in a place where there are some tribal people. Okay. And these tribal people, this community, they were creating a lot of problems for the Brahmanas. They were unnecessarily disturbing. They were actually Nishadas. They were disturbing the sacrifices performed by Brahmanas. They were acting like Rakshasas. So go and drop this branch. When this branch falls there, that entire community will get destroyed. So you can imagine the size of the branch. And Garuda was holding on to it, and he goes and he drops it there. And that entire group of Nishadas were killed, and they stopped the atrocities that they were doing there. So Ravana saw that banyan tree. That banyan tree is there apparently. I just took one banyan tree picture from Deft Island, that is there near Lanka, and I put it here. But you as any other tropical place, many banyan trees are there. This may not really be the same banyan tree, but this is one of the oldest banyan trees in that area. So I just put a picture of that. Anyway, but the name of that original banyan tree was called as Subhadra. So like this, Garuda, this Ravana, he saw the tree that was once perched on by Garuda. And then he crossed the ocean because it was the tip of the island. He wanted to cross the ocean, and he decided to fly over the ocean. Then he met Maricha. His whole idea was to go and meet Maricha. Now, this Maricha, at this point in time, remember, Maricha had already we already got to know about Maricha in Balakanda when Maricha, Subahu, and Tataka gave their appearance, and Tataka and Subahu were killed by Lord Ramachandra, but Maricha was driven away. So this Maricha still had a task to perform. Okay, so now this Ravana, he goes to meet Maricha again. And Maricha was wearing jute cloth, and he had deer skin in his waist, and he had jute cloth on the upper part of his body. He had tough hair, and he was on a regulated diet like a sannyasi. Okay, this was the condition of Maricha. This was his condition. And he welcomed Ravana, and he gave a good welcome. He gave him different offerings to eat, and he gave water to wash his hands and so on. And then he said, "O king of demons, is everything okay with you? What reason have you come here? That too in so much hurry, leaving behind Lanka." And at that time, Ravana said that actually I'm in so much anguish, and you are my ultimate recourse. So you're the only person, who can solve my problem. You know already that Paradushana and Trishiras and the 14,000 demons have already been killed. Now I am very strong, Ravana says. See, I don't care even for the demigods. I'm ready to face them even in a battle. But I can do all this. I can face anybody and everybody as long as you are on my side and you are helping me. He actually tells this to Maricha so that he can buy Maricha's confidence. So he says, in valor, nobody can equal you, he tells Maricha. You are so good in giving excellent ideas. And not only that, you create such excellent illusions that and trickery that nobody can figure out and who you are, and everybody can get cheated. So I want you to become a golden deer with silver dots, and you move in front of Sita in the hermitage of Ram. And on seeing you in the shape of a deer, Sita will undoubtedly ask her husband Ramachandra to get this deer. He will run behind the deer, and he will, and both of them, both Lakshman and Ram, will run behind this deer on the continuous asking of Sita, and they will leave behind Sita. When Sita is alone, I will comfortably go there. When Sita is in a lonely place, and just like how the planet Rahu abducts the shine of the moon, like that, I will kidnap her. Okay. So this is what he says. Then he says, Ram automatically, once Sita is kidnapped, he will become very sad. He'll become morose, and I can easily conquer Ram, and I can keep Sita with myself. Okay. So I can fulfill all my desires, and I can live very happily. So on listening to all these words of Ravana, Maricha's mouth was getting dried up. I was like, why is this Raman doing this again and again? I don't want to be a part of it. So he was almost like as if he's going to die. He wanted to give up his life right there, thinking about that idea. His heart sank. And why he was like so distressed hearing all this is because Maricha had already seen the valor of Lord Ramachandra when Ramachandra was killing Tataka. At that time itself, he saw the power of Ram. So he was feeling miserable. He was like, I don't want to be a part of this. And then he tried to tell Ravana something that was sensible. Okay. So he told, hey, Ravana, there are many people who give advice without weighing the pros and cons. They just give some advice so that the master is pleased. They understand what is in the heart of the master, and simply they will encourage their master because they don't want to be in bad books. That is one kind of people, one kind of advisors. Another kind of advisors are there. What do? They will not speak simply to flatter the master. They will give proper, suitable suggestions, even if it is unpleasant or unsavory for the person to accept it, because they truly are well wishers. They really want their master to be protected. They will simply not try to fan his ego. They will tell him the truth. But even though such an advisor suggests the truth, tells the truth, still the listener doesn't listen to it. Very few people take such an advice. Okay. So he says there are advisors who just flatter people. There are serious advisors. I'm giving you serious advice. But unfortunately, it appears that very few people truly listen and implement serious advices. And he says, you're simply going to ruin your future. This is what is going to happen to you. And he says, will there be any safety for all the demons if you behave like this? The entire race of demons will get destroyed if you try to kidnap Sita. I think it appears that the Sita has just taken birth to end your life, or maybe this entire race of demons. Such a big disaster will come if you try to do this. You're very egoistic, Ravan, and don't let this ego take over at this point in time. If you do not listen to this advice and if you act according to your own desires, the entire city of Lanka will be destroyed. And Ram will be the first one to come, and he will come and destroy you because he's a protector of Dharma. I already have experience with Ram. Even if Ram glances at you in a war, your life will end. That is the power and valor of Ram, he says. He says when Ram was just 12 years old, Vishwamitra, he went to Dasharath and he requested that Ram should come with him to the forest because of the atrocities that we were performing. Who was performing? Maricha, Subahu, and Tataka. So Ramachandra came along with Vishwamitra and he made himself ready for the battle. When we arrived near the sacrificial arena, he started shooting arrows, and by one of the arrows that he shot, I was plunged into the ocean that was 100 yojanas away. And that Ram, at that time, he didn't want to kill me. That was the boy Rama who was just 12 years old. And when that arrow was shot at me and I went 100 yojanas apart, at that time, it took me so long to regain consciousness. And then slowly I proceeded to Lanka. So, if at all you are going, if you're at all you have any desires of making any confrontations with Ram, then surely your entire dynasty is going to get ruined. Lanka is such a beautiful city that you have created. It has skyscrapers and it is studded with gold and gems. This entire golden city will shatter down if you just place your hands on Maithili. If you just touch Maithili, that's it. Everything is over. So, Ravana, just take pleasures in your wives and don't do anything undesirable to Ram or to Sita. But if you unnecessarily, aggressively behave in spite of the advice that I have given you out of goodness, then for sure you will die by the arrow of Ram. So he said that in his teens, when he was just 12 years old, I told you about the war that happened and about the arrow that he shot and how I went and fell 100 yojanas away. Though I had one experience, later I will tell you about one more experience that I had. So this experience we don't talk about much, but then it is there in the Ramayana. Apparently, Maricha had another experience with Ram. Okay, so what was that experience? After he regained consciousness and he went back to Lanka, later he comes back to the Indian subcontinent and he was roaming around. And at that time, Lord Ramachandra, he was already sent to the forest. So he was wearing the robes of an ascetic. Like Ramachandra, we all know that he was dressed into tree bark and deer skin, and he was roaming around in the forest with matted hair and with a frugal diet and so on. So he was like that in the forest, and literally he was not like a prince at that point in time. So at that time, I remembered that it is this same person who hit an arrow several years ago, and this Maricha wanted to take revenge. So on becoming a gigantic carnivorous animal with torching tongue, actually it is mentioned that it was a deer only, but it was a carnivorous deer because this he was a magician, right? This Marich, he was a magician, so he could take different forms. So he took the form of a carnivorous deer with torching tongue, very, very sharp teeth, sharp horns, and extraordinary energy. And he was moving around in the forest of Dandakaranya, where Lord Ramachandra was with Sita and Lakshman. And like this, I was going around in the forests of Dandakaranya, and I was troubling all the sages. I was destroying their yajnas. I was making their holy bathing places dirty, and I ensured that all their religious sanctuaries were destroyed. So this is what I was doing, and I saw this Rama, and I decided to go near him and attack him. But then when I was going like this in Dandakaranya forest, I suddenly wanted to go and attack this Ramachandra who was with Maithili, who was with his wife. At that time, Ramachandra, he just took one arrow and he shot that arrow towards me. And actually, he took three arrows, according to the story. He took three arrows and he shot it at three of them. There were two other demons who were there along with Maricha in the shape of a deer. So Ramachandra, he swiftly took three arrows and he shot the three arrows. The first two arrows went towards these two demons who were accompanying Maricha and it killed him. When the third arrow was going towards Maricha, because of the previous experience he had, he just took to flight. He immediately ran away because he knew how quickly Ram can attack. So, knowing Ram's prowess, this Maricha, who was there in the form of a ferocious deer, he just ran away. He just ran away, saving his life. So he says that Ram, who was 12-year-old, was a brahmachari. He was so agile and he was so valorous. And his arrows threw me 100 yojanas away. But I could see the power of this Grihastha Ram along with Vaidehi. With Vaidehi, he's 100 times more powerful. So don't disturb the couple. That's what he's trying to say. Don't disturb Rama and Sita together. Sita Ram is so much more powerful than Brahmachari Ram, and I could see that power firsthand. So don't disturb both of them. And after that experience of running away in the form of a deer, I even in fright, I visual even when I see a tree, if I see anything green, I think that is Ram. And everywhere in the forest, I see hundreds and thousands of Ram because everywhere there are trees. And everywhere around me, since then, I've been seeing Ram around me and I'm always so scared. And in fact, when I see Ram in my dream, I just swoon and I faint. And if I hear the syllable Ra in words like Ratna or Ratha, immediately it is so scary to me that I almost lose consciousness. In fact, what to talk about Ratna or Ratha, even if your name, because Ravana's name starts with Ra, even if I'm about to hear your name also, I get very, very scared because your name starts with Ra. So he says, I know him very well. I know this Ram. I know how efficient he is. I know his valor. And I don't think it's a great idea that you should actually unnecessarily irritate him by taking away Sita. Believe me, Ravana, he says, he's far more powerful than even the emperor Bali or Namuchi. Actually, Ravana is known to have been defeated by Bali. So he says, you have already been defeated by Bali, and Bali is nothing in front of Ramchandra. Ramchandra is 100 times more. So, like that, Maricha, he warns Ravana. He said, if you really want to destroy yourself, if you just want to take revenge for the death of Karadoshanadi demons, I think you should really forget that idea. It's a waste of time. Please forget that idea and save your life. And that way, even my life will also be spared. So he said, don't think that it is important to take revenge for the sake of Kara and Doshan. Karadosh and Trishiras, they did a mistake. They overstepped their bounds and they attacked Ravana. Shurpanaka attacked Rama. Shurpanaka, she went and she unnecessarily transgressed there. That is the reason Rama just took some action. So think about it. It was them who created the problem. It is not Ram. So unnecessarily taking revenge and putting yourself into trouble is not needed at this point in time. And I'm giving you good advice, and I don't have any other external motive or ambitions, but I am just trying to save your life and save the life of the entire demoniac race. So don't become a prey to his sharp arrows. So like this, Maricha, he spoke very nice words, very, very wise words. And after he gave his entire speech, Ravana said, it was, Marisha was trying so hard. He was trying so hard. He says, see, and now today I'm in a mendicant dress. I've just given up all these bad activities because I saw the power of Ram. So I think you should also give up all these activities and just go and stay happy in Lanka. In spite of Maricha giving all this advice, Ravana said, all the words that you have been speaking so far is simply meaningless. It is simply meaningless. It is worthless. I am not going to listen to all this. You cannot scare me away by just talking about Ram, who's a mere human. Hmm? And so, what if Rama is very, very strong? At the end of the day, he's an ordinary human, and his wife Sita is so dear to him. So, if his wife has been seized, then automatically all his power will go off. He'll become an infidel, and easily I can destroy him. All that I want his wife. And it is impossible for me to change my heart now. Don't think I'm going to change my intentions or my heart. In fact, I didn't ask you for any advice, he tells Marich. Simply, you're giving me free advice. I didn't even come and ask you for any advice. And that is the kind of advice that you are giving me is truly not beneficial to me. I am the king. I know what I'm doing, and I have the rights to do what I want. You should only assist me. That is your duty. So it's apt for you just to offer some help in this matter and do what I say. I am the king and I decide what has to happen. You become an amazing silver spotted golden deer. Go and move in front of Sita's hermitage. You allure Vaidehi by your beauty. Seeing your illusory form as a deer, curiosity will arise in Vaidehi's heart, and she will tell Ram, bring that deer quickly. And Ram will go out of his hermitage. You allure him and you keep moving far away from the hermitage. And then you just mimic Ram's voice and call out, hey Sita, hey Lakshmana. And then after hearing this voice, Ramachandra will try to go back to the hermitage. Meanwhile, I will go and I will carry off Vaidehi effortlessly, just like how Indra once carried away Shachi. So he says this. And then he tells, okay, Maricha, it's over. That is all. I have told you what you must do. And if you do this nicely, then I will grant half my kingdom. So, of course, he was not even alive to enjoy half the kingdom, but this was the promise that Ravana gives him. So he says, you go, don't worry about this. I will go on my chariot along to Dandakaranya forest, and all that you have to do is take the shape of a deer and go and allure Sita. And once this entire task is over, you and me will proceed to Lanka along with Sita, and we will enjoy very, very nicely in Lanka. So this was the plan that Ravana says. He says, I'm not going to listen to you, but this is my plan, and you listen to my plan. I don't have to listen to your advice. So Marisha was still hesitant at this point. Marisha was thinking, what is this? What kind of problem am I gotten into? But then Ravana at this point in time, he says that, see, Marich, you have to listen to me. Your life may be indefinite on reaching Ram, but your death is surely definite if you try to have conflicts with me. So, keeping this in mind, you decide what is of your interest. Okay. So he says, if you don't listen to me, I'm surely going to kill you. If you don't become a deer and go in front of Sita, surely I'm going to kill you. But if you take the form of a deer and go in front of Ram, there is no guarantee that you will be killed. You might still escape. But if you don't listen to me, I will kill you with my own hands. So this is what Ravana says. And at that time, Maricha, he says, okay, it appears that you're just paving a way for the ruination of your entire dynasty. It appears that this entire Lanka is going to be destroyed. Our dynasty is going to be destroyed. But then I think it is better that I die in the hand of our enemy rather than dying in the hand of my relative like you. That way, the purpose of my life will also come to a perfect end. So at this point in time, Maricha is telling, I prefer to die in the hand of Rama than die in your hand. So I think that is a better proposal. So I will take the form of a deer. So he says, but however, know for sure, I am taking the form of a deer now. Still, know for sure, I am going to die. You're also going to die. Our entire dynasty is going to die the minute you take away Sita. If you are going to take away Sita, then remember, I will not be there. You will not be there. Lanka will not be there. And the demons will also not be there. And he says a person who's about to die will not take a good medicine because he's destined to die in a few minutes. So such a person will not take any curable medicine. Similarly, it appears that you are almost a dead corpse. That's why you're not listening to the good advice that I am giving. So like this, immediately Ravana said, okay, cut that short. Let's go now. So then he takes the form of a deer, and he's being given instructions by Ravana to roam around near the hermitage of Rama and Lakshman. He takes the form of a deer, and Ravana also goes nearby to watch what is happening. So he takes the form of a very gorgeous deer, and the deer looks amazing by appearance. It has beautiful antlers. These antlers are studded with sapphires. It has a golden coat with silver spots. It is whitish in some places, and in some angles, it looks golden. In some angles, it looks like silver. So, like that deer started to move about. One of the cheeks of the deer looked like a reddish lotus, while another cheek looked like a bluish lotus. One of its ears looked like blue lotus, while another ear looked like sapphire. The stomach looked like a blue diamond, Indranila Mani, and its upraised neck was very, very gorgeous, and the deer was moving here and there. The tail of the deer looked like a rainbow, the weapon of Indra, not weapon of Indra, but the bow of Indra, which is like the rainbow. And the body of that deer was so lustrous, it appeared that hundreds and thousands of gems were studded throughout that body, and it was resplendent with a beautiful aura. So this beautiful golden deer was moving around in the close by banana plantations where Sita and Ram's cottage was there, and the deer came within the vision, within the view of Sita. Now, the other animals that were there in the forest, when they came close to this deer, they were smelling this deer and they were running away. Because animals, by the sense of smell, they understand if this is really one of us or not. This magical deer was trying to get into the herd of other deers, trying to look normal, like as if it is also a deer. But the other deers, by capturing its scent, they could understand this is not a deer, and they would run away from there. But however, when Vaidehi had gone out to pluck some flowers, at that time her eyes fell on this beautiful deer. It was so amazing, and Vaidehi's eyes were caught with wonderment. She was so amazed looking at this beautiful deer. So she called out, Agacha, Agacha Shrigram, come fast. Oh, Aryaputra, Saha Anuja Agacha. With your brother, please come here, O noble prince. She called out to her husband and her husband's brother Lakshmana. She said, look at this fascinating deer. And she spotted the deer and she showed it to both of them. Have you ever seen a deer like this? It looks so beautiful. So at that time, Lakshman, he became very, very, doubtful. And he looked at the deer and he said, this is certainly not a deer. It is a demon. I'm sure it's Maricha. Immediately, Lakshmana could identify this was Maricha. Why? Because Lakshman has already seen Maricha in the form of a ferocious deer in the past. So he knew the ways of Maricha. Lakshmana was very intelligent. Immediately he said, this is a demon, this is Maricha. And Maricha is known for this. He's known for his disguises. He's a guise-changing demon. And he's assumed this form of a golden deer. It is very simple because no animal will have gems studded on it, will have the silver and gold spots and rainbow-like tail and so on. So such a thing is non-existent. So don't have any doubts, Ramachandra, don't have any doubts, my sister-in-law. There is no way that this is a real deer. It is Maricha. But then Sita was not ready to buy that idea because she was so enamored by the deer. So she smiled and she said to Rama that, oh, this deer is so beautiful. It is stealing my heart. Why don't you just go and bring it to me? And I want to play with it. It's like a plaything for me. Just go bring that beautiful deer. It just draws my attention so much. And then we'll play with the deer, we'll keep the deer in our ashram, and later when we return to the kingdom, we'll take the deer along with us, and it'll be such a masterpiece in our chamber. Our mothers-in-law, my brothers-in-law, and everybody else will be so happy seeing this unique deer. It is the best gift we can take when we go back. And she says, if you're not able to capture the deer alive and the deer is trying to run away and you shoot an arrow, still we can use the deer's skin as a seat for the throne. So why don't you go and get this beautiful deer? And she goes on, and then she herself corrects herself. This is very beautiful. Many of them don't talk about this, but it is there in the Ramayana. It is not like Sita was continuously pestering Ram, but she corrects herself. She says, according to tradition, it is said that a woman should not unruly seek such things. It is not befitting women. You should not pester the husband to get things. But it's just that, this deer is inducing some curiosity in me. That's why I'm asking. She says that, but I don't want to pester you, or I don't want to unruly cross boundaries and force you to get something. So she says that. And then this Ramachandra, he tells Lakshman, he smiles and he tells Lakshman that actually this deer is very beautiful. He looks at the deer, and Ram is also attracted to the deer. That is an important point that even the acharyas make. They say he is also very attracted. He thinks it's really beautiful. The deer looks resplendent, and no deer in this universe looks like this. Even in Indraloka or in Kubera's gardens, I've never seen a deer like this. In fact, oh Lakshman, Ramachandra tells Lakshman, a Kshatriya would just randomly hunt down this deer just for sport. Or maybe somebody will just hunt it down for meat. Rather, why can't we bring this deer and use it? And he says there are only two gorgeous deers I have seen in this world. One is this deer, and the other is the Mrigashira Nakshatra, the stars in the sky that is in the form of a deer, because that is also shining and resplendent. So he says there are only two deers in this universe. But then Lakshman is still not convinced, and Ram tells Lakshman, you are telling that this is the magic of a demon, right? This is the magic of marriage. Here comes the point. See, as far as Valmiki Ramayana goes, it's not that, okay, immediately, since Sita told him, go and fetch the deer out of lust for his wife, he just ran and he went and got the deer. No, he has a point here. He says, oh, Lakshman, even if this is the wizardry of a demon, if it is the illusory trick of a demon, even then I have to go and fetch the deer, and indeed I should even kill it. Why? Because the sages have come and requested for my protection. If it is a demon, that demon is fit to be killed. So then I will shoot my arrows and I will kill that monster, if he is a monster. But if he is not a monster, if he is an ordinary deer, we'll have it as a plaything. Worst come worst case, we can even get the coat of the deer, get the skin of the deer. And he says, he gives us, like references. Ramachandra just doesn't speak things, and he doesn't act out of passion. Okay. So he says, in the past, Agastya Muni, what did he do? He destroyed Ilvala and Vatapi. Now, this Vatapi also took the form of a ram. He took the form of a goat. Similarly, this could be a demon. You're correct. It could be a demon in the shape of a deer, but my business is to punish. So I should go there and definitely take care of this deer. I want to know what it is. So he says, if Agastya was not there, then Tapi and Ilvala could be doing more and more mischief. So, like that, we have to find out what it is and we have to give the appropriate punishment. So he says, Lakshman, you stay here and you be prepared, because even Ram knows what if it is a demon, right? So he tells, you be prepared and you safeguard Maithili steadfastly. Okay, instruction is very clear, safeguard Maithili, and I will go and catch this deer. If not, I will kill it. If it's a demon, I'm surely going to kill it, and I will come back with the deer's body. But, oh Lakshmana, you be here, you take care of Maithili, and ensure that you and our fatherly bird Jatayu are watchful, because the environment is suspicious. Even Ramachandra knows. He also says, be watchful and suspicious from everywhere. Every split second, keep watching. So Ram gives explicit instructions and he runs behind the deer. And as he goes behind the deer, he sees that he actually gets ready for a battle, actually. He fastens his quivers, he gets his kodanda ready, his arched bow, and then he starts moving very quickly. There, this golden deer was running deep into the forest. If Ram moved very quickly, the golden deer was moving quickly. If Ram slowed down a bit, it would slow down a bit. If Ram turned around, it would turn around a bit. So like that, it was tantalizing him actually, and suddenly it appeared like it was springing up into the sky. Suddenly it appeared that it was sitting down in another minute. So like this, it was suddenly it would appear from between the trees, and it was quite confusing because it's a magical deer, right? But still, Ramachandra did not give up, and he kept following it in every possible way. And then at one point, Ramachandra decided this is the perfect proximity to release an arrow. And he thought, this is not going to work anymore. I'm going to release the arrow. And he released the arrow and it hit the core chest of the deer's body, and the deer fell down dead. And Maricha, who was actually there in that deer's body, he abandoned that body. And however, when he was dying, he did something. He cried out. He remembered the last words of Ravana. And he thought that how best can I help Ravana? And he cried out, Hey Sita, Hey Lakshmana, Ha Lakshmana, Ha Sita. And he died. Now, there are some commentaries by other acharyas. Why should Maricha do this? Why should he remember Ravana in the last minute? Why should he do this? He could have just kept quiet, right? If his real intention was to help Ram, if his real intention was like, okay, he understood Ram's divinity and he just wanted to, he says, right, I want to die in the hands of Rama. I don't want to die in your hands. And then he could have, and Ravana was not around here. Ravana was not even in the vicinity. So he could have as well kept quiet. He could have just kept quiet and he could have died. Anyhow, he's going to die. Why do one extra disservice? Or when he's dying, he can take Sharanagati, like the crow demon that we will learn about later. There was a crow that was coming. We learned that story in Sundarakanda, where there was a crow and that was coming and pecking Sita's breast and blood was oozing out. And later that crow comes and does Sharanagati, goes and surrenders unto Lord Ramchandra. Maricha could have done Sharanagati in the last minute also. Could have easily done. Why does he have to do service for Ravana? So Vinashakale Viparita Buddhi. That's what is written. Okay. He had Viparita Buddhi because of bad association. He was also a demon. He was working in demoniac ways. Even during his last days, he did not change his heart fully. He could have. He had some change of heart, but that did not come to the point when in his last moments, he thought straight, and instead of taking the side of Ravan, he could have taken the side of Ram, but he did not. Okay. He did disservice and he called out Ha Sita, Ha Lakshmana, and he died. So this was Maricha's story. One thing that we can learn is about association. So we easily get influenced by the words of others. And even at the time of death, that influence was predominant. So this is what happens at the time of death, when the influence of taking shelter, influence of Sharanagati, influence of thinking about the Lord is prominent, then we are in better hands. We should not be thinking of the cruel things or supporting the wrong people at the time of death. This is the story of Maricha. And finally, Ramachandra, he killed Maricha. And while dying, Maricha also called out to Sita and Lakshmana. But anyhow, since he called out to Sita and Lakshmana, Ram was really worried because immediately he got alerted. Oh, this is a demon, and he has called out the names of Lakshmana and Sita in my voice, and he's really called it out loud in the forest. And definitely Sita and Lakshmana will hear, and they will think that there is a problem for me. So Ramachandra got really worried. And he just took that, the body of that deer, and he started running. He started running towards the ashram. And meanwhile, in the ashram, Sita had heard the voice of her husband. And Sita looks at Lakshman and she tells Lakshmana, I think this is the voice of my husband. It appears that he's in great trouble. Otherwise, he will not call out like this. So you go at once and check upon my husband. And she says, I've heard a very loud yelling voice, and he appeared that he's in great fear. My heart is throbbing, and it'll be apt for you if you go now and protect your brother. So Sita says that maybe he's come under the subjugation of some demons. So you hurry up, you please go immediately and give him protection. So like the Sita, though she was speaking in various ways out of anxiety like this, Lakshman on his part, he did not move an inch because he remembered the brother's order. His brother told him, stay guard here, be careful, continuously watch around and take care of Janaki. So he remembered those words and he was not ready to move. And seeing that he was not ready to move and he was not going to take care of his brother, Sita started screaming at Lakshmana, saying, hey, Saumitri, you're not making a move towards your brother. Your brother is calling out in an emergency, and it appears you're simply standing here. Why is it that you're not going? She was pushing him to go, but he said, no, my job is to stand here and give you protection. So this went on for a while, and finally, Vaidehi says, it appears that you have a wish for Ram to be destroyed because you desire for me. That is why you're not going and saving Raghava. I think this is definite. That is the reason why you're standing here. So she blurts out these words. Now, why does Sita, who's the goddess of fortune and who's the consort of the Lord, who's the mother of the universe, why is she saying this to the greatest of all devotees, Lakshman? Right? Govindaraja in the Bhashya, he says, it is for us to understand the repercussions of Vaishnava Aparadh. Lakshmana at the end of the day is a Vaishnava. Even if the goddess of fortune, even if the consort of the Lord makes a Vaishnava Aparadh, she will have to suffer. That's what happens to Sita eventually. She suffers because of the aparadh that is made to Lakshmana. So this is all a play, okay? Sita is in a role that she's trying to tell the world. We cannot judge Sita. But rather, see, why should Ram run behind that? It appears that everybody has made a mistake, right? Everybody. Later, this conversation comes where Sita says, who has not made a mistake? I have made a mistake. Ram has made a mistake. She tells Hanuman, even you are making a mistake. So like that, everybody makes mistakes, but however, the Supreme Lord is Achyuta, and so is his consort. They are infallible. But they role play. They do roles to teach us. This is how you should be. Don't do Vaishnava Aparadh, then you'll have to face the repercussions. Okay, so she spit fiery words. Anyway, there is also there are different. I skipped this. There are different realizations about Maricha. Our acharyas, I have not seen them mention. Okay, this is again a topic that others can also pitch in later because it is not very clear. Did Marich get perfection? I mean, did he get liberation? None of the Vaishnava acharyas have mentioned about it, actually. They don't talk about him getting liberation because they said he did a wrong thing. He could have surrendered, rather, he did a disservice because of wrong association. This is quite consistent. That's what they have written. But then there is Adhyatma Ramayana, where it is mentioned that Marich does get salvation. A light emerges from his body and it goes to Ram. So there are different opinions, and I just wanted to bring it out. Okay, so you can adhere to whichever opinion you think is correct as far as the Leela goes. But according to Adhyatma Ramayana, there's a reference that yes, Marich did attain perfection, but not really according to the Acharyas. The Acharyas were not happy with his behavior and they didn't think that he went back to Godhead. Okay. Or they didn't explicitly say or mention that he attained perfection, like how they explicitly said for many people. For many people, they explicitly said they went back to Godhead, but not for marriage. Okay. So, but we can take whichever side you want to take. Anyway, so now the conversation between Sita and Lakshman, let's get back to that. So, why did Sita say such terrible words? It appears that you have a desire for me. That's why you're standing here. Otherwise, you would have run behind my dear husband and saved him. So, we discussed what could be the reason why Sita speaks like that. And the other reason is, of course, out of intense anguish. You know, when Krodhat Bhavati Sammohat Smriti Vibhrama, we know those verses. So when you are very emotional, we don't know what we are talking. We go to a state of madness. We don't know what we are speaking. So that is what was happening to Sita out of intense love for Rama. So she continues to say, why are you staying with me in this hermitage? Your brother is going through a situation of life and death, and you're just standing here. So, like that, her eyes were filled with anguish, and she was looking like a fretful deer, like how a deer, the eyes are randomly moving. So she was so tensed at that time. And Lakshman, he tells, hey, Vaidehi, nothing can happen to your husband. Your husband, the serpents, asuras, gandharvas, rakshasas, daityas, nobody can do anything to your husband, and you can be assured by it. Okay, your husband is so valorous and he's the Lord of all lords, and nothing can happen to him. And just because I hear this voice, don't think I can abandon you and go away into the forest in search of Raghava. First and foremost thing, Raghava is not here. Ramchandra is not here. So there is no way that I will leave this place. And he tells, be assured, my brother's prowess is unmatchable. Nobody can do anything. So take your heart off this problem and be assured that Ram will return soon. And if that is a demon, Ram could have easily, destroyed that demon and he will come. But then Sita insists that that was the voice of Ram. It is not anyone else. So you have to actually go and protect your brother. You don't have to give me security. Now you leave immediately. And as Sita, towards the end, Lakshman goes on and on that didn't you see Karadoshan had come and Ramachandra was, he was capable of killing Karadoshan and 14,000 soldiers at one shot. These demons, they mimic others, they create different voices. They are very capable of doing all these magical illusions. So you please don't bother about it. But then Sita became very, very furious. And then she started speaking very rude sentences at Lakshmana. So she said, you are very maleficent. You don't intend good. You are a man, sent by Bharata. You and Bharata have decided that you are going to, Bharat has decided he will stay back in the kingdom and you will come to the forest like as if you're safeguarding us. And in an opportune moment, you will ensure that your brother is dead and then you will kidnap me and you will take me away and so on and so forth. She goes on telling, you did this, you are like this, you are going to, your whole desire is just to get me, just for the sake of me, you're trying to ensure that your brother is going to die and so on. And she says, if at all that is your plan, then I will discard my life and I cannot exist in this world without my husband Ram. So when she speaks terribly, at that time, Lakshman, he folds his palms and he says, Maithili, I will not talk back to you. I think this is enough. You are like a deity to me. You are my worshipable deity. You're very venerable to me. And the words that you're speaking is simply burning down my ears. So I will go. I will go wherever Ram is. But you stay protected. Let the forest deities protect you. Okay. Saying this, he says that I don't know if you will be there when I return. He says this. He says, I don't know when I return if you will even be there. But uh, you're asking me to go. So for that sake, I will go. Then Sita Devi, she shouts, she says, without Ram, I will plunge myself into Godavari, or I will discard this body from heights, I will jump from a height, or I will enter fire. I will not touch any other man other than Raghava. So she goes on and on talking about this. And finally, Lakshman, he tried to cheer her up and he tried to tell, okay, your husband will come back soon. And if needed, I will leave if that is what you need. So, but he didn't have the heart to leave. Repeatedly, he was looking back again and again, and Sita was telling him, go now, otherwise, I will just suicide, I will just give up my life. So, after hearing all this, Lakshman, he decides to go. So Lakshman, he goes away. Question. Is Lakshman Rekha there? Answer, no, there is no question of Lakshman Rekha. I don't know if any other Ramayana also speaks about Lakshman Rekha. As far as I know, there is no Lakshman Rekha at all in any of the retellings, but I could be wrong. There is no Lakshman Rekha. He just feels very bad. He keeps looking back at her and he says, let all the forest deities, Vanadevatas, let all the Vanadevatas protect you. I will go. I will go. Because she keeps telling, if you don't go, I will suicide. If you don't go, I will jump off. So this goes on and on. And she starts blaspheming him, and then she blasphemes Bharata, and this goes on for a while. And finally, he starts walking towards Lord Ramachandra. So while he's away, while he walks off, he's no more in sight. At that time, Ravana, he approaches Sita. How does he approach Sita? He comes in the form of a sannyasi, specifically a Tridanda sannyasi, Tridandi sannyasi, a Vaishnava sannyasi, because he's got shikha and all that. So he comes in the form of a Tridandi sannyasi. He has an umbrella over his right shoulder, and over his left shoulder, he has the sannyas staff, and then he has a kamandalu, and so on. And dressed as a sannyasi, he goes towards Vaidehi. And on seeing Vaidehi, on seeing Ravana, the trees in Janasthan were not in full sway, meaning the tree froze. The trees in Janasthan became scared. Not only that, Godavari, that was rushing beautifully with a beautiful noise, she also became very soft. Godavari was also very scared. The entire nature was disturbed when Ravana entered, because we all know how Ravana controlled all the demigods. By the movement of his eyebrows, all the demigods would offer their supplication to Ravana, just like Hiranyakashipu, right? So like that, everything, the entire atmosphere was very, very tense, and everybody was afraid of Ravana. So this Ravana, in the form of a sannyasi, he went near the cottage where Sita Devi was sitting, and he was chanting Vedic hymns. Remember, Ravana was a Brahmana, he was well trained in the Vedas. So he was chanting the Vedic hymns and he was slowly moving towards Sita Devi. Now, Sita Devi, she was wearing a beautiful silk sari and she had lotuses as a garland, and she was standing with her eyes fixed in the path where Lord Ramachandra had left, because she was waiting for Ram's return. But then this Ravana went close by. He looked at her and he called her out. Now look at the way Ravana talks. Ravana says, "Oh, rosy-faced woman, it appears that you are an embodiment of Shri, Kirti, and Lakshmi herself. You look so beautiful. Are you Lakshmi? Are you Hri? Are you Shri? Are you Kirti? Or are you Rati Devi, the wife of Manmata? Your teeth look so beautiful. Your lips are so smooth. Your teeth looks like jasmine buds. You have broad eyes. You have eyes that have the corner of redness in their corners. Your pupil is black. And he starts describing her body parts, her entire body, her waist and her hips and so on. He goes on and on describing her part by part. And he says, there is no Gandharva, there is no Yaksha, there is no Kinnara in this world who's as beautiful as you. So he says, in fact, I think only the best of garlands, the best of scents and foodstuffs are actually appropriate for you. This is an abode of demons. What are you doing in this forest? This is a terrible forest. You're such a delicate woman. Who are you? Whose are you? Meaning, do you belong to someone? Do you have a husband? Where are you from? And why are you moving in this Dandakaranya forest that is adored by demons? And like this, when this wicked Ravana was praising her like this, Maithili, she got up because he was in the dress of a sannyasi. Now, imagine a sannyasi will never talk like this, okay, describing a woman's beauty inch by inch. So it's not that Sita didn't doubt him. Sita knew there is something wrong. Okay, it is normal. Any woman would know. If a man talks like this, a woman would know this is something strange. And especially because he was in sannyas robes. But then the etiquette and the culture was that if a person is in a saffron, immediately he's respectable. So Maithili, she immediately gets up and she offers respects and she brings a seat for him. She brings feet wash for him and she gets a quick plate full of fruits and roots ready for him so that he can accept it. Okay, so oftentimes they say that Sita was just, there is this Lakshman Rekha, she didn't cross it and she gave arms like that outside the Rekha. It's not like that. It's mentioned here that he was invited, actually. He was invited inside and he comfortably sat and she presented a full plate of food. And but at the same time, her eyes were fixed at the door. She was looking forward when she can catch a glimpse of her husband who had gone into the forest. So, that time, Sita, because Ravana had asked so many questions, and when a sannyasi asks you so many questions, again, out of etiquette, she was thinking that she should answer him. So while she was thinking that she should answer him, she first gives him the first respects, like giving him water, food, and all that. She tells, Duhita janakasya aham maitiliyasya mahatmanah Sita namna asmi bhadram te ramasya mahishi priya. So she introduces herself. She says, Duhita Janakasya. Duhita means daughter, right? So I am the daughter of Janaka, and my father is the king of Mithila. My name is Sita, and she says, Bhadramte, auspicious unto you, because my husband is Ramachandra. I am his Mahishi. Mahishi means queen. I am the queen of Ramachandra. So indirectly, she's telling, let safety be unto you. I'm going to tell the name of my husband. He's Rama. And then she says, I stayed for 12 years in the palace of my husband. And after that, I was married she tells her entire history. She tells on the 13th year, he was supposed to be crowned. But then when my husband was 25 years of age and I was 18 years of age, so much history, she says, that we were sent to the forest along with his brother Lakshmana. So we are moving around in this Dandakaranya forest because of the boons that were received by Kaikeyi. Because of my younger mother-in-law Kaikeyi, we are here in this forest. Then she says, my husband will come here soon, fetching a lot of food, and then we can talk to my husband and he will take better care of you. So she says all this. And then Sita, Sita immediately, after she introduces herself, she asks, so you tell me who you are. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll have the introduction of Ravana in a minute. I mean, not in a minute, in our next session, because it's already time.
I don't understand.
Okay. I don't have time now. So we'll stop here. We'll have Ravana's introduction in the next class and we'll stop. Okay, any questions?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanvat Pranam.
Yeah, you stopped at a very cliffhanger, but that's okay, Mataji.
Or you
Don't,
want me to finish the kidnapping of Sita? It'll take few more minutes.
Mataji, don't worry. We'll
Yeah,
come see
we'll
next.
come back for the
Yeah.
kidnapping of Sita.
But
Uh,
thank you, Mataji. It was very wonderful. And a lot of questions that I had, you answered in between.
okay.
They're all Yes, dear devotees, if anyone has any questions, comments, please. Yes, Pradhananda Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Namaskaram, Mataji. Uh, I just have one question about this role of Mother Sita. Is she the Chaya Sita, or is it going to be revealed?
Oh, yeah, good point. Because thank you for asking that. Otherwise, I would have skipped the whole thing. I was thinking of coming to Chaya Sita when the abduction takes place, how he lifts her, right? That is when I wanted to talk about Chaya Sita. But since you asked about Chaya Sita, I will tell it right away. Yes, when Ram and Lakshman go away, there is this Agni that is going on, right? The Grahasthas, they have to have the Pancha Agni all the time. And we saw at various times throughout the Aranya Kand that Ramchandra always had the Agni on in his hut. So it is mentioned that Sita, in separation, when Ram and Lakshman went away, she was staring at that Agni and she enters that Agni in separation from Ram. She enters that Agni, and from there she is taken to the abode of Uma and Mahesh, as it's said in Kurma Puran. She goes there and she stays there, and Maya Sita emerges from this Agni. And who's that Maya Sita? She's non different from Vedavati, who actually entered fire after severing her, her hand becomes a sword and she severs her hair and then she gets into Agni. So that Maya Sita comes out and she's the one who's conversing with this Ravana. This is from Kurma Puran, and it is also attested by Maheshwara Tirtha, who's one of the commentators of the Ramayana. Govindaraja doesn't talk about it. Yes, Rachna
And
Mataji.
was Ram aware of this, Mata? Lord Ram was aware of this incident. I mean,
It's Leela, right?
Sita
So they
going.
don't want to be aware.
Okay. Thank you again.
Otherwise, there's no fun.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you. So, like you mentioned, the Vedavati thing. So, all the different curses that Ravan got, is that mentioned in the Valmiki Ramayana?
Yes, very much. Every
Okay.
curse is mentioned. All the women, their big list, complaint list is there. Uttarakhand is one of my favorites. Okay, it's so beautiful. We will do obviously next. By the time we do it, it'll be next year. Already it's year end. I want to finish Aranyakand by end of this year, and then January I'm not here, so we'll have a break, unfortunately, and we'll finish after the break. Only we can finish Kishkindakand and. Sundarakanda, and then Yuddhakanda is very big. Then we'll go to Uttarakand, my favorite. It'll be really good, Uttarakand. Yeah. There is so much reasoning, like we may have so many questions at this time, but all the answers we'll find in Uttarakhand. It's so beautiful. Yeah. But people don't read it because Sita goes into earth, right? So nobody likes to hear that. But that is also different. It's an experience you should hear. Okay. So we'll end.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha कृपा सिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो अनंतकोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय Majority slowly assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
much.
Hare
Okay,
Krishna.